I'm sitting here with a fantastic songwriter who I have long admired, Sharon Robinson. I have so many questions that I want to talk to you about, but the first thing I got to tell you is that 20 something years ago, I heard a song called Everybody Knows, and I became obsessed with this song. I've covered every band I've ever had, I've covered this song. And
Very
every
kind.
every setting that I've ever played it in, whether it was a rock club, a folky acoustic thing, jazz piano bar, I will do that song and it kills every time because it's a truly amazing piece of work. It's I feel like it's a song that could have been written 2,000 years ago. How did that song come about?
Well, I kind of go over that a bit in my show where, like with several of the songs I wrote with Leonard, he would just hand me a lyric, and sometimes there were several verses. I mean, much longer than you could fit in one song. But then I would take the song to home with me and just figure out, okay, what sounds like the chorus, what sounds like a verse, how do we tell the story, what stanza follows which one.
Yeah.
And he gave me, full, leeway to sort of shape the song using his numerous verses, poetic
Yeah.
verses. But, it was a protest song, and I needed to find music that would properly support this kind of lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's timeless. Sadly, it will always be relevant.
It does seem so.
Yeah.
Sadly, I guess you're right. And but I do, like in my show, I break it up and do it in different ways, and relate it to Leonard's personal life in a way, because he was going through a tough period of time when he wrote that lyric. So
When you were so that's on the I'm Your Man record,
yeah.
which is a total musical sonic shift for Leonard Cohen's catalog. And it's maybe my favorite Leonard album, but it was a surprising album when it came out. People were surprised by the sound, by the audacity of it, by the catchiness of it. People, some of those songs get played in dance clubs, right?
Yeah.
Musically, what were you trying to do with his songs? Were you thinking about his back catalog, or were you thinking, let's do something totally new?
Well, I didn't feel I was in charge of his direction ever as an artist. I sort of took I followed his lead in terms of what he wanted to present at that point in his career. And we would always discuss, whenever he would give me a lyric, we would discuss those directions in advance. And then I would bring him a few versions that I thought might work for him to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And he usually chose the one that I thought was best as well, and then we would flesh the rest of it out from there. But with 10 new songs, that's what we did on every song.
So
in fact.
10 New Songs, which is a fabulous record, and that's a pure collaboration. That's 10 songs that you both created together.
Yeah.
That was an interesting time it seems like an interesting time in Leonard's career, because his performing life had kind of either dwindled or ended at that point. At that point, when you were doing 10 New Songs, did you think you would ever perform any of those songs on stage?
No, not really. That was an experience that I remember being, a day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the best work you can possibly do in that moment.
Yeah.
Without thinking about what it may lead to or what may come of it.
Sure.
I had no idea that it was, going to be one of his, fan favorite albums.
Yeah.
I didn't even know whether we were actually making an album at certain times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I had the privilege of seeing you on tour with Leonard a couple times during this truly incredible 5-year run. And I still get chills. When I meet other people and we talk about concerts we've been to and different artists we've seen, I can't tell you how many people I interact with, musicians, non-musicians, all over the world, who talk about, did you see Leonard between, on the big
Yeah.
tour? That was one of the best concerts I have ever seen. But what's interesting to me is when I saw it at the beginning of the run, it seemed like this could be a one-off. This could be very short-lived. Maybe this is like a 4-month, 5-month tour, and that's it. Did you know that it would go on and grow and grow?
We never knew when it was going to end, or when a certain leg of the tour ended. We never knew whether there would be another one.
Right.
But it just kept going because there was demand. Leonard was filling arenas and stadiums.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, from what I understand, I'm a little too young to have seen him when you first sang with him.
Right.
But from what I understand, he played theaters. Maybe in Europe, some bigger.
Yeah, in Europe we did some. I remember we did a stadium back then in France, outside of Paris. We did something.
But in the
really
U.S., mostly theaters, smaller rooms.
Yeah.
And when I first saw the tour, it was in a theater. I think, was it the Beacon Theater or Radio? I can't remember where it was. But
Well, here in Philadelphia, we played the
Academy of Music.
Academy of Music. There it is.
Which is
yeah.
very old. It's where the orchestra used to play.
Yeah.
But I watched every 6 months, it was jumping up, and then all of a sudden, Madison Square Garden, multiple nights.
Right.
And as a lifelong fan of Leonard's songs, his music, the work that you guys did together, I wonder, did you all not know the stature that the music had at that time? Was it a surprise that the demand was there?
It was a bit of a surprise, yeah, definitely. I mean, when we first started, as I say in my piece tonight, Leonard wasn't sure at that point, because he hadn't toured in a long time, so he wasn't sure whether anyone was going to show up. So we started in a smaller venue in Canada, and the response was amazing, and it just kept going from there. I have some theories as to why.
Please.
I mean, the music, of course, his lyrics, and his willingness to give every part of himself to the audience and to the music. He was basically putting his life story out there for everyone to see.
And with this energy, because as a performer, his best years were the last few years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He would come skipping out on stage.
Yeah.
And you're prepared as a fan for something very different, and then it was a very high energy, moving, exciting, passionate show.
Yeah.
And you didn't expect that from Leonard. What was that like to see that emerge?
Well, when you say emerge, that's exactly how I felt. I mean, I was like, I didn't realize what a showman the man was, because I had worked with him before, and it was there was a lot of energy in the 79 and 80 tour, but the performances were more, sort of predictably song to song, and, performance of a song and whatnot. But this time around, he was really performing. He was really, giving his all to the audience, and he he would say to me sometimes, you have to take that risk with the
Yeah.
audience, or else they feel cheated. you know.
Yeah, and we're sitting in Philadelphia, and I said this to you earlier, and speaking of people that don't know the stature of their own music, you wrote an incredible song, a song that won a Grammy, a song that went to #1 by Patti LaBelle, who's the queen of Philadelphia soul music, R&B.
Right.
New Attitude. Have you seen Beverly Hills Cop? New Attitude. Everybody knows that song. They played at the basketball games. I feel like you don't know how much people love that song.
Well, when I hear it, like if I'm out shopping or something and I hear it come over the loudspeakers in a store or something,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's a good song, That's a really good track.
It gets you
we did a
going.
good job,
Well, so how did New Attitude get to Patti?
Well, that's a pretty long and interesting story. We actually wrote the song for Thelma Houston.
Okay.
Okay, and then Thelma, right at that time, she changed labels, or something happened with her career where she couldn't put the song out. So it sort of languished for a little while. I was working with some producers as an artist myself who were going to be producing a song with Patti for Beverly Hills Cop.
All right.
And I happened to play the song for this producer, Peter Bonetta, and he said, wait, I think I can do something with this. Hold on. So he was about to go to Hawaii on vacation with his family, and his wife had laid down the law, you're not doing any work while we're on vacation. So he took the tape with him, he hid it, and he found a way to get away from the hotel and he found a way to get it over to the U.S. to the right people to hear. And sure enough, it got into the movie. And they I guess they already had Patti slated to sing it. She killed it, of course.
She ate it up and
of
spit
course.
it out.
Of course, yeah.
Well, it's a great song, and you've written so many great songs, but you're also a performer, and you're here in Philly tonight on a tour, talking about your time with Leonard, but also doing your catalog a bit. And I guess I want to know how much more do you think of yourself as a performer versus a songwriter, and which do you enjoy more?
Ooh, that's probably the toughest question you could possibly ask me.
I ask this of a lot of people I interview,
Yeah.
and I'm always shocked. It's always the opposite of what I would assume the answer.
I love singing. I love singing for people.
Yeah.
And the challenge of that is I eat it up. I love it. But I also love writing a song and trying to write a better song and then a better song and a better song. So I'm kind of addicted to that process as well. And I love being in the studio. I love making the records. I just love all of it, really.
You wrote a song that I adore that we're going to be performing tonight called One More Song. That my good pal Betty Levette, people that watch this show, they all know Betty
Love
Levette.
Betty.
She's been on the show
Yeah.
twice, and she is one of my favorite live performers. And
Betty's amazing.
we did this song with her, One More Song.
She kills it.
And after we did the song, I said, "Where'd you get that song?" And she said, "My friend Sharon wrote that song." I said, "Sharon?" "Yes, Sharon Robinson." I said, "Get out of here."
Right.
I hadn't heard your version, which is also fabulous on is it the Caffeine album?
Yeah, I think it's on Caffeine, yeah.
So tell me about One More Song, because this is, to me, yet another song that you worked on that could have been written 1,000 years ago, 100 years from now. It's sort of a timeless piece.
Well, when I came up with the idea, it's like an idea like that for me is like an opportunity to put my best songwriting chops at work, to like take an idea and like really examine it and rip it apart. And, so the idea was, it had to do with, as a songwriter, there's this like sort of joke where if somebody's having a breakup or something, we just go, oh, well, fodder for a song, It's like, so that's the idea that the song explores in different ways.
Right.
And, it's not a song about an exact experience of mine, but of course, we've all been through.
We've been there. We all been there.
Those emotions, and that's what I try to bring in. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I can't wait to do it with you tonight. The people watching the show are going to get to see one more song. And I'm just so happy that you have come here to Philadelphia. I hope that you keep coming back.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I hope that everybody watching this will look out for Sharon Robinson wherever she's playing, wherever she's performing. You need to go.
I'll be in D.C. tomorrow night.
D.C. You were just in Boston.
Yeah.
And where are you based in California?
I live in Los Angeles, yeah.
Are you doing any West Coast dates?
I did one a couple of weeks ago, so at a place called McCabe's, but
Oh, the guitar shop?
Yeah, that place.
Wow, that place is legendary.
It's legendary, yeah. Yeah, it was fun, and the sound is great. I really had a great time there. But we don't have anything else booked on the West Coast at the moment, but I expect that to change.
Do you think you might go overseas at some point?
Probably. I mean, Leonard has a huge following in Europe, or had. Has.
See, again,
so
talking to you, look, you're all about the music, which is why I love your music, is why you make great music. But again, I think you are consistently underestimating the resonance of Leonard's songs and the songs that you did together and your songs. So stop underestimating yourself.
Okay, Adam, thank you. I will follow your advice.
I hope we get more Sharon Robinson songs, more records, more tours, and I'm really looking forward to the show tonight. And
I'm looking forward to you joining me.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to close the show tonight, if we can, with a song that you used to do with Leonard at the end of a 3-4 hour show.
Right.
Save the Last Dance for Me is a song that everyone
Right.
knows and loves. Leonard didn't do covers too often.
No,
But
that was one of the,
where'd
just
that
a
come
couple.
from?
I don't know, he just, he loved the story behind the song, where the person that wrote the song was, couldn't walk.
Doc
was in
Thomas,
a
yeah. Doc
wheelchair.
Thomas was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and so he, he said to his significant other, "Go have fun, but don't forget who you're going home with."
Yeah.
And it's a terrific story. It's a terrific song, and I think that's probably why Leonard zeroed in on it.
It's fabulous,
Yeah.
and to start the show, as you often did, with "Dance Me to the End of Love."
Right.
La la.
Yeah.
All the way, and now 3 hours later, this sweet little intimate "Save the Last Dance for Me." It was just, those shows are etched in so many of our memories, really.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad that you were there and that you had got a chance to experience it. Sometimes I ask people, "Well, did you see that show?" And some people who didn't, they'll say no, and I kind of feel bad for them because it was such a great
Well,
thing.
the live records capture it a bit,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Those are great.
Right.
But I have a friend who traveled, I think, to 6 or 7 cities across Europe to follow your tour, including Croatia. I think you played in Croatia.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, and Leonard's catalog is interesting because when you look it up, some of his records would hit #1 in Poland and Eastern Europe and Scandinavia,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't even chart in the United States.
Right.
But the reason that the demand was there, And the reason that your songs still resonate is because great music grows in stature. Pop music often diminishes in stature, but a great song is timeless. And more people play it at their weddings and funerals and first dates and things.
Yeah.
So again, don't underestimate yourself.
Thanks, Adam.
That's the moral of the story. Okay, tough cookies. I'll see you all soon.